Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Heart Centered Therapist podcast. I'm your host, Sindee Gozansky. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate when you stop by to listen. Today, it is a real delight and privilege to introduce you to my guest, Brie Chrisman. Brie is the founder and CEO of BossCo, an operations management company that works 100% virtually. With over 15 years of experience in the project management and operations fields, Brie has taken a different approach to making an impact on businesses. Her commitment to being human first has led her to serving CEOs in the mental health field. And that's why I brought her on. Brie works primarily with mental health professionals, therapists, solo practice owners, and group practice owners. And here's what she says. When your practice or workload is running you instead of the other way around, everything feels harder. Client care, managing your team, even just getting through the day without feeling completely drained. I've experienced this myself. And it doesn't have to be that way. Having the right systems in place, setting clear boundaries, and structuring your practice or caseload in a way that actually supports you can be game-changing. Our conversation is going to be all about making small practical shifts that help therapists, whether you own a practice or you're solo, create a sustainable workload that doesn't lead to burnout. Whether you're drowning in admin, putting out fires, juggling too much at once, and all the hands are going up out there, you can actually focus instead on what you do best when you have systems in place. You can focus on helping your clients, leading your team, and building a career that feels good and pays well. I know I need the advice that Brie is going to share and wisdom. So thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thank you, Sindee. That was a great segue into our conversation.
Yes, I'm really excited because you spoke right to me. First, you are human-centered, human first, and that's something special you bring to your business and helping other business owners. And second, I've experienced all those things.
Yeah. I feel like most business owners have. And, people say, oh, well, I got out of the 9 to 5 as an entrepreneur. And then you just work 24/7.
Right.
So it really is a whole different beast. And it's definitely a ride for sure. And not knowing the instructions, like, have you ever played a board game and not had the instruction manual? That's basically what being a CEO, a practice owner, entrepreneur looks like.
Yeah, that's right. So before we dive into some of the nitty-gritty, and that is going to even start with definitions of operations and systems, I'd love for you to share what got you into this, a little of your background, and also like why mental health?
Yeah, those are great questions. So I started my company in 2020 in the height of the pandemic with a 5-month-old,
Oh,
actually
wow.
7-month-old.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it's now. I have a 5 and a 2-year-old, so I'm like trying to think how far back, kid math.
Mhm.
And I had been laid off from my position. I was doing sport event management and marketing, and
Yeah.
there was no sports, there was no events, there was no marketing, there was nothing. And so my whole career path went out the window for who knows how long. And so I had always been in operations and project management, event management, and that's kind of how my brain works. It's very much I can take the big picture and the nitty-gritty and put it all together. And so I know that every job I've ever had, I have left it better than when I got in. So I created streamlined processes. I made things a little bit easier for everyone around me. I left instruction manuals and SOPs, standard operating procedures. And I realized remember sitting on my couch one night in May or June. I told my husband, was like, I could do this by myself. I
Wow.
could do it. I could, why do this for someone else when I could do it on my own and make my own rules and make my own client list and do what I want to do and work with the people that I want to work with instead of pulling out my hair for somebody else. And so we used to be called BC Creative. So BC Creative was born.
Mhm.
And one of our first clients was a therapist. It was a friend of a friend. of a friend. And
Yeah.
from there, and she's still a client today. And so relationship, we're really good friends now. And because of her referral, and then those referrals and those referrals, 4 years down the road, we ended up being 90% mental health practice owners, both solo and group. And so the end of 2023, we decided to go full in and just get rid of all of our other industry clients. We have 2 that we've kept just because they've been with us since the beginning. But yeah, so now we solely work with therapy owners, and we really, our entire team are mental health advocates. We've all had our journey in mental health. And it's funny, I actually told my therapist last week that, like, yeah, it's great. I'm hyper vigilant about everything. I'm hyper independent, and I just monetized my trauma.
Oh, Brie.
You thought it was very funny. But yeah, I mean, I've always been a huge mental health advocate. So is my team, like I said. And we loved working with therapists, and because we found that they are so burned out all the time, because the amount of emotional burnout that you guys have to deal with, because you're holding so much for your clients, and then you have to hold it for yourself and your family and your friends. And then also you have to run a business. And so if we can help just a little bit with that practice owner, take a little bit off their plate, take a little bit of that burden, then they're able to give their best to their clinicians and their clients. And those clinicians are able to give their best to their clients. And those clients are able to give their best to their family and friends. And it's kind of that trickle down effect. So it's our little drop in the pond to help the mental health industry and mental health space.
Thank you for that. Thank you for doing this work and impacting families and communities in the way you do, because I don't think it's for granted. It's definitely not taken for granted that everybody is a mental health advocate or sees the importance the way you do and the way your team does. And I really appreciate and acknowledge you for sharing that with us, sharing a little of your own personal experience. And I know for myself and other therapists listening, to know that somebody who is on the business side can relate to what we go through and to our mission to serve people and raise mental health awareness and provide great access, like that is huge. And that gives us a trust factor with your services too.
Yeah. And the good thing too is that on the business side, I'm also a CEO. I've gone through all the pain points and all the decisions and wanting to burn it down at year 3 and all of that everybody else goes through too. So I've done the mental work on myself and have gone through that process. And I have clients that we're almost on the same journey. Like we're going through the same things at the same time. And so it's cool because I can take my experience and talk to them about it. And it's just really interesting. So it's kind of on both sides, both the mental health side and then the business side. I can take my own experiences and help in that aspect too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So good. And really, as people are listening, I want to make sure that you heard this great company that Brie is the CEO of, which is BossCo. And the website is Hey, bossco.com. And then also on Instagram, you can check her out there at Hey_BossCo. But we'll link everything. But I know sometimes people like to kind of sneak in while they're listening. So let's start with, you focus on helping people develop operations and systems. And that's your field, right? Project management and operations. What is that?
Great question. You can Google operations and it will give you a whole bunch of different things. Usually it's when you Google operations, it goes into like factories and construction and manufacturing, but that's not all of operations. So what we look at for operations, it's anything that's a process or a workflow, anything that has at least one step and it's repeatable. So that could be honestly a process, like think about in your home. A process could be when you put something in the mail. You have to get a stamp, you have to get an envelope, you have to write the address, you have to put it in the envelope. Like that's a process.
Okay.
Get out to the mailbox, put the red flag up, all of that. The only reason I came up with that is because I did it this morning.
Yeah. We both live a little rurally, so we've got the mailbox with the red flag.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So yeah, it's anything that is a repeatable process, anything that has repeatable steps. And it doesn't have to be like a 60-step process long. It could be a checklist. It could be, it's really anything that you do. It doesn't have to be fully regularly, once a year, once a month, every day. But then also looking at it from a bigger picture, we like to look at it from, it's the back end. If you think of your clients as the front end of your business, kind of like if you've never been in a restaurant, you have front of house, back of house. Front of house is the tables, the dining, all of that. Back of house is the kitchen and the dishwasher and all of that. So operations is really looking at the inner workings. It looks hand in hand, just like at a restaurant. It works hand in hand with the front end, the clients, the sales process, all of that, the marketing strategy. But it's really how to make those things thrive. So looking at processes like client onboarding, how you do billing, your paperwork, like just having your packet of paperwork, that's part of operations. And actually looking at, even we don't do marketing, and marketing is typically lumped in with sales. You can make an argument for marketing being part of the operations as well, because if you could have the most amazing marketing strategy, you could spend thousands of dollars on Google Ads, but if you don't have a proper intake process, if people can't figure out how to book a consult with you, if your website doesn't really truly give off the vibe that you give off and gives people the information you want them to have, you're not going to book any clients. So that's kind of the side that we look at. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Gives us a better understanding of operations. And then our systems, like within the operations itself, like is a system a client onboarding process?
Yeah. So if you're looking at like a hierarchy, so operations is kind of at the top, is like the big overarching umbrella. And then under that, you could have like your marketing system, your client intake system, your billing system, your scheduling system, things like that. And a system could includes your software. So your EHR, if you don't do billing in your EHR, because I know some people use like Jane app and stuff like that, your email system, your phone and text messaging system, things like that. So kind of system is like your chapter. Full disclosure, we're big with analogies at BossCo. So if we're looking at a book, operations is the book. The systems are different chapters. And then the processes are different pages. So a process within the client onboarding system or like client system could be the client onboarding. So looking at your website, if you have a button, if you have a form that is a client qualifier, and then that form leads to, scheduling a consult, and then your email follow-ups, and then scheduling the first session and all of that. So that could be a process. And so that's kind of like the pages. And then those individual pieces are the words on the page.
Yeah, that's great.
Confusing.
No, it really clarifies it. And so, I think some people might say, okay, well, how does this apply to therapists? Like, why is it important if we get clients to sort of click the button and make an inquiry, and then we just get them onboarded into our EHR? Why do therapists need to have this kind of bigger operations and systems perspective?
Yeah. So it is a bigger perspective, but it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have thousands of different softwares and everything. We try to keep it as streamlined, as minimal as possible, because, the more softwares you have, the more expenses you have. And then that means the more clients you have to have. But really, there's so many different reasons for having systems and operations and stuff. Number one, if you are bringing on a team, having a standard way to do things will make it easier to train those new people. It will make it easier for you to know what's going on as the business owner. It's also a good way to standardize level of care and the quality of care that your clients are getting, because it's not just if they have a really bad interaction with someone, say on your admin team, and then they come into session, they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth. And so you always want to have that quality of care. And then if you get into like churn rates and things like that, and how long your clients stay on your roster, I always use the client intake process as my example because it has so many good things in there. Say you have 3 people on your admin team, or say you have you and another clinician, however many people. You do things differently. Maybe one of you sends 3 follow-up emails, one sends no follow-up emails. One person does the consult call completely differently than the other person. Obviously you have your own vibes and everything, but if you follow more of a script, you'll be able to get the same information from people and deliver the same information.
Really good point.
The cool way is that if it's a standard does not mean bad. You can have a really quality standard, really quality template that is still human first and personalized without it being like computer automated. The templates just make it easier for you because that way you also don't have to write the same email over and over again. But if everyone's doing it the same way and each client is getting the same level of care, quality of care at every single step, you know where people are falling off. So if everyone's going through the same process, exactly the same way, if everyone's falling off after the consult call, okay, let's look at that consult call and see, what are you talking about? How is that going? Maybe we should do some role playing and do some scripting and see if there's a good way to do that. If people are falling off after scheduling their first session, okay, do we need to send more follow-up emails? We found that if people don't respond after the first email, they'll usually respond after the third. Because it's like the first email is like, oh yeah, I got to do that at some point. And second is like, oh shoot, I need to do that. I'll do that next week. And the third one was like, oh shoot, I really need to do this right now. And they'll hop on it.
Yeah.
That's across all of our clients. We see the third email is always the one that gets people.
That's amazing. And I think about, honestly, no shame. When you reached out to me, it was probably the third email because, you were persistent and I was busy. And now we have a wonderful conversation.
And it's across all industries too. It really is. And it's at the end of the day, and I always hate saying this because it just sounds really crass when you're talking about mental health and people who are seeking mental health support. At the end of the day, though, your practice is a business. And so looking at a lot of people struggle with getting clients. And if you kind of take the emotion out of it a little, I mean, obviously keep it human first and everything, but if you take the emotion out of the process and look at it like a sales funnel, it's so much easier to be able to bring those clients into that funnel and make sure that they're flowing through all the way to the end and onboarding like you want them to.
Yeah, yeah. And as you say that, I can imagine some people might resist a little that notion of a sales funnel. But the difference, as you're describing it, Brie, is that it's human first. And what you're looking at is the client care. Where are they falling through the cracks? And that's about sales for service, right? That's about how we're helping them. And so really encourage listeners to think about it this way. And let's put on the hat that if you're even a therapist in private practice, solo private practice, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur. And what you're going to help us with is making this shift so that we can still provide that care and our big heart-centered model, but being able to support us, being able to sustain us financially, and then also in a thriving kind of life-fulfilling way where we're not working every waking hour.
Yes. And to what you just said about the amount of money you're bringing in, profit, I always have to remind people, profit is revenue minus expenses. So it's not just that, whatever your hourly rate is, say $200 an hour, it's 200 minus all the other things that your overhead and, those nasty Stripe fees that are going up and up here and all of that. But when you have standardized processes, it takes so much less time. Like if you have a template email, it'll take you 30 seconds instead of 5 minutes to send that email. And if you're sending that email 5 times a day, that's 25 times a week times, say, 50 weeks. That's a lot of minutes that you are wasting on that one email that you're sending out constantly to people. And so having that standard of care, and if you think about it this way, so let's do quick math real quick. Sorry, I can't do that in my head.
Yeah, this is a really helpful reframe. Even just that email, I've been guilty of that. And sometimes I think like, wow, I don't want to just spend my time doing emails. I love connecting the clients, but I don't want to spend only my time doing that.
And you can connect with clients and have really great, like the email that I sent you, Sindee, when we first reached out, it was a template.
Okay.
A template that is customized. So it starts out, my basic bio and things like that, but then we customize it because we have done our research and know that we wanted to be a guest on your podcast. So it can be templated and also customized. It doesn't have to be just a straight, I'm sending this, I'm not even looking at it. So that 5 minutes a day times, let's just do one email a day. It's 5 minutes times once a day for a week, 5 minutes a week times 50 weeks.
Oh gosh.
That's 20, almost 21 hours that you're spending a year on that one email that you send every single day. So think of that.
Okay. Whoa, slow down. One email, 5 minutes to do the email.
21 hours a year.
21 hours a year. So this is how it adds up, but we don't see it. Instead, we're like, I have to do everything. I'm going to wear all the hats and I can bang out this email. Well, every time you do that, it adds up to 21 hours.
Yep. And to give you an even bigger mic drop, if your hourly rate is $200 an hour, that's $4,200 that you are losing a year because you are sending that one email from scratch every single time.
Okay.
That's a lot of money. And so that's when we talk about, expenses aren't just your software and things, it's your time. And also going into that, your mental load and if you are also writing that email every single time, or if you are doing things from scratch every single time and you're not standardizing, the amount of mental load that you were using and the amount of executive function that you were using and your decision-making limits. So say you have 20 decisions you can make in a day. Well, you just used 5 on that one email. And so having that executive dysfunction, because we all know we have it as business owners because we have so many hats to wear. I have processes that I've been doing for 4 years, and I still pull up my written document of my standard operating procedure just so I don't have to think about what the next step is.
Yeah. And so when you're working with a therapist or a group practice, do you help them create these templates? Like, is that one of the first steps in trying to have systems and reduce some of this extra time and money expense?
Yeah. So I love that you asked that question because when I started the company almost 5 years ago, it was really in like a virtual assistant type role where I was like, I'm just going to take things off people's plates. And at the end of the day, I was like, to be frank, I was on the hamster wheel with them because I would take more things off their plate. And then because we're entrepreneurs and love to do all of the things, they just kept adding more things on their plate and more things. And so hiring somebody else just wasn't helping. And I realized in 2023, we hit a wall where I was like, we're not making the impact that I want us to be making. We are not, and it's not fast enough either. And so we actually overhauled our entire business. I basically did a controlled burn of our company, got rid of 5 or 6 clients, rebranded, overhauled all our services. And now we come at it from a point of, okay, how can we streamline and maximize the resources you already have before you even think about hiring someone to take stuff off your plate? So if we can look at your processes that you have and look at what you're doing, look at the software you're using and streamline it, make it more efficient. And when I say streamline, it's really just how can we minimize steps? How can we make this easier? How can we make it more efficient? How can we make it so you're making less decisions and things like that? And so we look at that first. And then from there, we really help you learn how to delegate, because the thing is, if you delegate something physically, if you're still thinking about it at 3 o'clock in the morning, waking up in a cold sweat, you did not delegate it. You delegated it physically, but not mentally. And that's not helpful. And so teaching people how to truly learn how to delegate and be able to fully trust and empower their team or, themselves, whoever it is, to take it off their plate. Well, for group practices, that's huge. And for solopreneurs, solo practice owners, you have one hat or you have one head to wear all the hats. And so figuring out a way to utilize like automations and making things work for you and, treat automations like an employee for you. Use ChatGPT to help you brainstorm your blog post. Please don't do it word for word, but use it to brainstorm. Use it so that you're not having to use your entire brain, because let's be honest, as a therapist, you're probably not an expert writer. I'm not an expert writer as an operations specialist, and it takes so much out of me to write social media posts and blog posts And so I use ChatGPT to help me just brainstorm. And then I'm like, okay, I know what to talk about now. And so just using that, it saves so much time. Just using the tools that you have at your disposal, whether those are people or software or whatever. And that can be so beneficial.
Yeah. Are there any like automation examples that come to mind? I mean, I know you're not promoting certain products, but for either a solo or a group practice owner, like what should they look at automating? Perhaps is it like client scheduling? Is it, I don't know. See, I'm even lost. Like, what would you automate? I'm lost.
That is the thing, that it is really difficult to automate in the medical sphere because of HIPAA. A lot of the software isn't HIPAA compliant. A lot of like EHRs don't have the connections, integrations that you can use to automate. Typically, our processes are semi-automated or basically as minimal manually as possible. So for example, I'm going to use client intake again for an example. For one client, we have her process locked down. It's the same client I've been working with for 4.5 years. She's always my guinea pig. So I was like, yeah, let's try new things. Sure, great, whatever. I don't care. Not that she doesn't care, but she was like, yeah, if you have a way to do it, I would love to be your guinea pig. And so then we know it's a tried and true process, and then we work on it with clients. So we have a button on her website. It's the only way people can contact for appointments. We have a form. Instead of going straight to a consult call, we go to a form that everyone has to fill out. The form has qualifiers. What state are you in? What is your insurance? Who are you looking for a therapist? Here are their bios. Are you responsible for billing? Or do you have Medicare? And having that like opt out, like I confirm that I don't have Medicare just because.
Oh, that's really smart to make that an opt out, right? Because wow, I never even thought about that. It's on my website. I don't take Medicare.
Yeah. But
I
that way
take
you
other insurances, but people still call and say, "Oh, I have Medicare." I'm like, well,
yeah. And then so from there, having like what their age is, so that way we know. And so all of those, that's a Google form, and all of those Google forms go into a spreadsheet. We have conditional formatting, so that's set up. So if the age is under 18, it lights up red. If they have an insurance that we don't take, it lights up red again. So that way we can see that. And instead of the clinician doing prep and doing the consult and getting out of the headspace that they're in for something else, we know that there's a moot point because they're probably not going to schedule anyway. So then the admin team reaches out to them and says, hey, just a heads up, we don't accept Blue Cross Blue Shield. You're more than welcome to use your out-of-network benefits. Are you still interested in the consult call? And 9 times out of 10, they say no. So having those stop gaps. So from there, the Google form has, like on the confirmation page, it has a link to schedule, and they use Simple Practice. So it has to schedule consult calls. And we have blocks for it can be kind of overwhelming.
but it's so organized. So then there's blocks of times that are openings for consult calls.
Exactly. And so that way they can bulk them together and be in that same headspace for executive function. We also put a lovely question on the form that says, after I submit this form, I am going to schedule my call at the link after. So that way it brings it to their attention. They don't just exit out because, everybody knows that they never schedule. It's just one more step. But we also have an email template that says, hey, we noticed that you filled out the form and didn't schedule. Here's the link. And so that goes out. We do a weekly or a nightly checklist for our admin team, does it, and goes through all of that and sends the emails out. So it's a lot of checks and balances and stopgaps and making sure that, okay, if this doesn't fit the criteria, let's address it now instead of when it gets to the end. And that way, too, it really shows the care for the people that are coming to us, too. It's like, hey, we're not going to waste your time. We're also not going to waste our time. And we're going to be able to get you where you need to go. And if that's helping you find resources or referrals or whatever, if they're in New York and take Blue Cross Blue Shield, we'll tell them about Alma and let them know, hey, you can do matching and all of that in Alma, and it's a good place to find someone. And then from there, they schedule the consult call. And then we have the thing that I love is after the consult call, we have a template that the clinicians send to the client directly after the consult call. It's like, it was lovely to meet you. can't wait for you to start your therapy journey. So it's very, very nice.
Right. Yeah.
But also here are all the things we discussed. You're in New York. You are going to be using your in-network Aetna insurance. You are responsible for billing, or if it's
Right.
a 20-year-old and their parent is responsible, your parent is responsible for billing. And there's something else on there too. But then because they CC the admin team can take it directly from there, know that the client is interested. Oh, and scheduling preferences. So weekly, biweekly,
Right.
Wednesdays after 5, that sort of thing. But the admin team can take it directly from there and take over all the onboarding without the clinician having to send a message in Slack or something like that. So it's really about the handoffs and about the seamlessness and making sure that nothing falls through the cracks. And for that, because of that process and also because of the state of the world, or aka the country, for that, they have a team of 5 clinicians and they had 42 consults in January and onboarded 20 new clients.
Wow.
January alone. And it's,
Mhm.
obviously it's a lot to do with the clinicians and everything, and also the amount of inquiries. However, it's also, we have that process locked down, and it's not just templated out and it's not just stopgaps. It's also holding their hand through every step of the way and making sure they're nurtured, because if they have a great onboarding experience through admin, they're going to go into their first therapy session a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more confident. Whoever the therapy practice is has them, and they're taken care of not just from a clinical side, but from admin side too.
Yes, that's so beautiful. The way you nurture them along their step of reaching out for a therapist, because also we forget that human first, it takes a lot of guts and courage to reach out, to go to the website and fill out the form or make that call. And so this really lets them know there's accountability. We're going to get back to you. Like all of that says so much and lets the client know that they're seen. That's like the first step of good therapeutic relationship.
Let's be honest, I'm just talking to listeners in general, how many times have you looked for your own therapist and reached out to someone on site today and you get crickets?
Mm-hmm.
No one responds. And you're like, what's the point of having you saying you're accepting clients
Right.
all the time? So having that really good onboarding experience was one of that practice owners. She's like, I want to make sure that we are reaching out to people within 24 hours. We need to capture them while they are still in that, not the vulnerable time, but in that position where they're like, yes, okay, I want to do therapy. Because, we always have those clients that are like, oh my gosh, I need therapy. And the next day they wake up, they're like, oh no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Exactly.
And
Right.
so
And that's part of the marketing too.
she had their website is optimized. It really shows the vibe of the office, of the clinicians. And so all of that really matters, especially from like a marketing standpoint, like you said. But it all goes together and it's all operations.
Yes, that's such a great example, Brie. That's so client onboarding. That's a great example of like how you can delegate in different ways with semi-automation and also holding the client, providing that support and nurturing. One practical question with that. So this assumes they're going to go to the website and use the button and fill out the form. What would be sort of like the stopgap if they call, if they make a phone call? Because some places don't have somebody to answer the phone live. And how do you direct them to instead the website to fill out the form? I'm just
Yeah.
so curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this practice specifically does not, we used to live answer the phone, but it just got to the point where like 25% of the time we were able to actually get to it. So we do let it go straight to voicemail. It's just a voicemail, and then we call them back that day, listen to the voicemail, and it's great because we use Spruce, and so the transcript is fairly good. And so we call them back, tell them ask them what they're looking for, give them some more information, and then we typically will tell them the next step is to schedule a 15-minute consult call. Usually what we'll do is ask them if it's their cell phone and then text them a link.
Mhm.
Or if they want to check out more information, we give them the URL right there. But yeah, it's just honestly, it's talking to people, asking their pain points, asking, listening, which, is you guys, therapists are professional listeners. And so, but even admin team calling back saying, we got your phone call. Thank you for reaching out. What can we do for you? Let me give you the next step. Let me make it easy for you. And so,
Yes.
same nurturing.
Yeah.
It's okay to let things go straight to voicemail.
Love that permission. It's okay.
Answer every call. It's not going to be your make or break. If your client is interested and they've gone to your website, if it's that you don't answer the phone right away, that's the thing that breaks them and says, oh no, I'm not going to come back. You don't want that client anyway, because I guarantee they're going to be the client that you talk to your therapist about.
100%. Yes. So this is a way to like solidify and systemize a process. How else have you helped practices reduce the workload, reduce that juggling everything that leads to the burnout? What else would you share that, is maybe like a case example where it was like this and now they're feeling this way, freer and reduce workload and better profit?
Yeah, it really is. I'm going to speak specifically to group practice owners right now. And it could also be a solo practice owner with one admin person. Like I'm talking to you too. It's about trust. It's about empowering the people around you. And that also doesn't have to be just in your business. If you have a partner or a friend or a roommate, ask them to do the grocery order. Ask them, like, you don't have to be the end all be all. And I feel like I'm talking to the majority of the women that are listening to this podcast right now. You do not
mental load.
The default everything. And I am pot kettle right now because I am also the same way. But it really is, it's about empowering the people around you. It's about trusting that they've got you, that there are people around you that want to help you. They may not know how to offer it, cough, cough, partners. But, and of course, it's always hard to ask for help. It's always hard to delegate because you don't want to let it go because, of course, no one can do it like you, right? Mm-hmm. But if you give yourself permission to let it go, if you give yourself permission that done is better than perfect, and you give yourself permission to let people show you what they're made of, then you can start to ease into that light. And it is hard, and it takes a while to learn how to delegate successfully and be okay with not doing all the things. And the thing is, too, is you'll kind of get to a point where you'll be like, oh, I've been able to expand the things that were getting done so much because I'm not doing it all. I'm not the center of the universe. So you can't be the sun. Things can't revolve around you. You can't be the cog in the wheel and all of that. And it's really about empowering. And also one of the things we do in our signature program, Peak, which is a 6-month intensive program for growth and scaling, is look at your quote unquote operations chart and like where your staff and everything is. And if it's very, very horizontal, we need to get that a little bit more vertical. But it's also about, okay, if John over here is doing blog posts and he can write really great, but it takes a lot out of him, but he can organize folders like the best of them. And then you have Susie over here that is a wizard at social media posts and hates alphabetizing. Switch those roles, because honestly, the amount of time and energy it's taking them to do those things, if you're just shifting what's in their buckets, it will actually save time. It will empower them. It will get them in their zone of genius, their zone of excellence, which empowers them and makes them feel good. It makes them feel happy. They're doing things that light them up and give them dopamine. And, the last thing you want to do is that thing that you hate. And because I guarantee every one of us has right now a task on their plate that's going to take 5 minutes that we've been putting off for 2 weeks that we just need to do. And those are the tasks that we need to delegate to other people, that those are their things they love. Also, the fact that sometimes we just have to do the task, and it is what it is, and that's being a human adult and being a business owner. But it really is, finding out, talk to your clinicians, talk to your staff, ask them what their strengths are, ask them what they like to do, ask them, how things are going, if they have goals in the company, if they, it's really great to know if they're like, yeah, this is just a stopgap for me and I'm planning on getting a full-time job elsewhere. That's really good to know, but they can still maximize their time in the meantime. But if someone's like, I'm in here for the long haul, I love working here, I want to do all the things, then maybe they're on a path to be your clinical director or your operations manager, and really cultivating that relationship, cultivating their strengths.
How you build culture, how you build so much community and connection, which we need. We need so much of that today, especially. But within a group practice, that's how you get people to care.
Yes, people to care. And you think if somebody is dreading coming to work every day, whether it's virtual or in an actual office setting, their clients are going to feel that vibe.
Yeah.
And so having a company culture where your therapists, your admin team are supported, they feel supported. And that doesn't mean that you have to give them thousands upon thousands of dollars in benefits. I mean, yeah, that would be great, but let's be honest, we can't, most of us can't afford that. But just doing, giving them space to be able to be open with you, giving them space to be able to tell you if there's something going on, or if they want to try something new, or, if they're like, I really want a group. But if you're micromanaging them or being big brother, they're probably not going to come to you. They're not going to trust you to allow them to branch out. And so if you empower your team, empower them to, like I said, work in their zone of genius, be able to come to you, be able to have that open communication and that transparent communication, one, they'll stay for a lot longer, because the average amount of time that therapists typically stay at a practice is about a little under 2 years.
That's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can get them to stay longer, think of how many thousands of dollars it takes to hire a new clinician, to get them to a full caseload. And it takes months, and it takes months of your time and energy and your dollars that you're bringing in. And then also, they are going to speak your praises. They're going to speak the company's praises to the people that they talk to, which brings in more referrals, and it brings in more clients. And if the clients are loving it as well because the therapists love it, they're going to tell their friends and family, and then they're going to come in as clients. And so it's a snowball effect, and it starts with you. And it starts with you having that open, honest, transparent communication, having that, just treating them like humans, and be like, okay, what do you need right now?
Yes.
It's honestly easier than you think.
It's so powerful. What do you need? This is a great way to really recognize who you have, the talent that's there. I love the zone of genius. I love that whole concept, and is it Gay Hendricks, that book? That's amazing. Yes. And ask your people. And this is how you also build that culture, because you're saying, hey, what do you really love to do? Oh, I didn't know you love to have a group for teenage girls. Great.
Yeah.
Let's do that. We can make that happen. And then they feel that, you have their back and you have their support and their best interest. I really believe, for me, like, I want to create an environment in my group therapy practice where the clients can be their best selves and take risks and grow, but also the therapists. And so that, to me, is really important. And what you're saying, Brie, is it means that you have those responsibilities too. You have to do things differently. And the way you described delegating as empowering someone else is such a great reframe. That instead of thinking, oh, we're just giving this to them, I can't do this, I'm giving it to them. No, I'm empowering someone else. And then it's like a win-win. So I love that. It's really, really good.
And it's not just a reframe to make yourself feel better either. It truly is. You have to have the mentality shift behind it. Like, I brought on an assistant last year, and it took me a lot to delegate things to her, because I was like, I feel bad giving you these menial tasks. And she's like, no, I love the menial tasks. Give them to me. I'm like, oh, okay, great. And that made me feel better about delegating too. So it works both ways. And
Absolutely. I did that too. I was like still doing something, and she said, why are you doing this? This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm like, oh, okay.
Stop doing that. That's not your job anymore. Yeah. And it is really, it's interesting when you get to that mindset shift and you're like, oh, okay, that works really well. And so it just opens your brain up to do more things and to help that one clinician who now feels comfortable with you to start that teenage group and to promote it and all of that. I mean, it really is. We lead by example. So I would never ask my clients to do anything that I wouldn't do. And so we have created that company culture in BossCo. And I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here, because I never celebrate my wins. And this is a big win that I I feel like is very empowering to me. And so we did our year-end reviews in February because, of course, we did them 2 months late. But every single one of my staff members, which right now there's 4 of them, every single one, their favorite thing one of the questions we ask is the favorite thing about working at BossCo. And every single one said that they can be their 100% their true selves and be open and honest and feel empowered and feel like they can come to work and actually make a difference. And so like that to me, it's so much more than just the money and the revenue. And of course, everybody wants to make money and because we can support our family and go on vacations but it's really about the helping people and the fact that we can make a difference and the fact that they're all seeing that too and they're all opted into that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and I can see how much that touches you just as you share that they are so grateful they can be themselves.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so what you bring to your clients, that opportunity to create businesses where they can be themselves and the people that they employ can also be themselves. And I think this is amazing. It's so needed. And the business operational education piece is very needed for mental health professionals because we get so little business training for the most part in grad school. And
Zero.
Yeah, zero. Right. And so even having some kind of simplified discussion like we did today, I mean, I feel sort of embarrassed, like, what is an operation? But now I understand it better because I have that metaphor of the book and the chapters and the pages. So it's great. Share a little bit for us, Brie, just about BossCo, what you offer. You mentioned Peak, and I know you're also going to gift us with a freebie for our listeners. So we want to know all the things.
Yeah. So we kind of have a little bit for something for everybody. So one of the first things that we have, it's kind of the least hands-on is our consulting calls. And those are strategy calls with me. They're 1-to-1. Usually we do them either monthly or quarterly. It's like a pick your brain session. It's great. What am I doing? Just basically I have them like word vomit at me and then we pick it apart and we come through everything and then we make an action plan for the next, whether it's a month or 90 days. And so I'll send a recap email that's usually very long because I don't know how to be abbreviated. It's just my nature. I'm just very thorough. And I send all the resources we talked about. I send the recording of the calls so that way they can go back and if they had any aha moments, now they have it. We set an accountability plan of like, okay, you said you're going to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to check in on those and make sure you have that done for our next call. The next thing that we have is operations support, which is very similar to like the virtual assistant type work. However, we still flip it on its head and look at before we touch, your inbox or anything like, okay, well, you don't have a communication problem. You have an inbox problem. Let's talk about that. Let's figure out, okay, these emails need to be going to your clinical director, not you. Let's create some filters. Let's create a system in your inbox that makes it easier for you before we even start to dive in and like help you go through them. That sort of thing. So help
that sort of thing sounds dreamy,
right? Helping you in a day-to-day manner, but not just getting on the hamster wheel with you, trying to shifting your mindset, shifting the way you do things. So it is more streamlined because at the end of the day, we want to work ourselves out of a job. We want to get to the point where you either have grown so much that you need to bring someone on full-time in-house or that you're so streamlined that you're like, I don't need any more help. I'm good. I've got it. And so that's kind of what that role is. The next thing is one of our most popular things that we do. It's a comprehensive business audit. So we have you fill out this really long form. It usually takes like 25 to 30 minutes to fill out. And then you get on a 90-minute call where we do a deep dive Q&A about the form and everything else. And then you get an action plan it's broken out into a matrix of like small impact, small change, big impact, big change, little impact, things like that. But the way that we do things that's really specific to BossCo is that we give you not just the how of how to do it, but the why. Because if you tell someone, well, you need to change X, Y, Z, they're not going to do it unless they know why it matters. And so every single one of those suggestions gets a how and a why. And then at the end of the document, and it's usually like 15 pages, it's a 90-day action plan where it literally tells you, okay, these tasks that we described up here, this is what you're going to do in the first week. This is the next 2 weeks. This is the month after and the month after. And so it really gives you a blueprint of what to do. And then from there, if you are like, I want to do these things, but then I want you guys to help me with these, we can totally do that. And usually that happens with those clients. And then the last thing we have is Peak, which is our intensive 6-month program. This is for people that really are, they typically have a group practice. They're making 300 to 500 a year and up, have, at least 3 or 4 clinicians up to 20, and they're doing all the things and they don't want to anymore. And they really want to grow and scale and maybe step back from client work and do more speaking or do more retreats or whatever. The way that we describe this is it's teaching you how to drive while also building your car in time, and teaching your staff how to drive and navigate as well. So at the end of the 6 months, you can drive off into the sunset on your own. So it's looking at your organizational chart. It's looking at all your processes. It's looking at your company culture. It's looking at how you delegate, how you lead. And then we do like weekly check-ins. So it's not like every other program where it's just you have this big investment and basically they promise you the world and then you get DIY stuff and then one hot seat call where you have 2 minutes to answer or to ask all your questions.
Right.
Truly, you get a dedicated operations specialist. You get homework and we make sure that you do it. And really, we keep you accountable so that, because at the end of the day, if you want big change and big growth, you have to make a big investment, whether that's, and I'm not saying it's, money, I'm not charging $50,000. It's an investment in yourself. It's an investment in time and energy. And that's why we have the homework and everything. If you aren't putting in the effort, you're never going to get to those big goals. And so that's kind of where we came from for Peak. And it took us 9 months to build it because we were so many iterations of it, because we were like, what do therapists who want to grow and scale really need? Like what are the 6 different, like it ended up being 6 different, like each month has a different theme. And really, what can we do to completely overhaul their business and really just making it the dream practice that they thought of when they started.
The dream practice then that also supports their lifestyle and their dreams for their life.
Yeah. And the clinicians' lifestyles and what their dreams are and goals as well.
Yes. Yeah. So important. I love that there's so many different offers, like for each level, and the direct contact and hand holding and streamlining. And, even just from meeting you here, I know people would feel pretty comfortable, like you're not going to judge them because we've already talked about so many of these things that are natural that we do because we don't know any different. Now we know the why of not doing those 5-minute emails a day because it's going to add up to all these hours and $4,200 or, whatever your rate is. Like that.
Feeling forward, having that. I have found that when I make mistakes or when I fail at things, those are my fastest growth opportunities because I learn exactly what not to do. So it shoots me, instead of like kind of getting it right, it shoots me in the correct direction of, okay, this is exactly where I have to go. So it really is, I embrace failure and mistakes because, we're only human.
Yes. Human first. Exactly.
Sorry. I forgot to talk about the freebie. I am going to give you the lead magnet is going to be our favorite software. And so it really shows you what the different softwares that we use that we love that you can streamline, whether that's HRs, Google Workspace, things like that. It'll be a breakdown of all of that as well. It's just a quick PDF, so you can look at it, save it, look at it whenever you need to make a change.
Great. Oh, wow. Your favorite software. Yes, I was going to ask you about that, but instead we are going to get it. So that's awesome. It'll all be in the show notes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Brie, for sharing your wisdom and helping us see our work as therapists in a little different way, that we're also business owners, human first, and everything we do with our processes can be for client care and support. And who wouldn't want that in our field? Like, that's what really matters. I really appreciate your time. What would you want therapists who are listening to go away with? Because you've seen so many different iterations of practices. Like, what's one maybe word of encouragement or advice you'd want to give them?
Oh, that's a good one. Honestly, it's okay to ask for help, whether that's in your personal life, whether that's in your professional life, even just a friend that's a therapist, like, hey, can we just vent for a second about how hard it is to be a business owner, how hard it is to be a therapist owner, or hiring support, delegating. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's just your big heart and letting us know that it's okay. We have that permission. When we ask for help, we're also empowering someone else. Wow. What a fun conversation. Thank you so much, Brie. I really appreciate you being here. And we'll link everything in the show notes. And it's heybossco.com so people can check you out.
Thank you, Sindee, for sharing your audience with me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you all for listening. And until next week, stay heart centered.